So when I first started teaching, I thought it was all about delivering content. And if I explained concepts and answered questions, then students would get it. But my first year was a real wake-up call. Some students were getting it, but others were really struggling to keep up, and I certainly wasn't reaching everyone. But then I learned about learning theory, and as I began to apply that to my teaching got way better because it was more engaging, students felt more connected, there was more variety in the way that I approached things. So in this video, I'm going to talk through how learning theory can be improving your teaching practice. If we haven't met before, my name is Claire and I've worked in UK universities for the last 10 plus years, and I help lecturers improve their teaching practice by talking through some effective strategies that will make a real difference to student learning. So in this video, let's have a look at the 3 main learning theories. There are lots and lots of learning theories out there, but we're just going to focus on the main 3 of behavioural, cognitive, and constructivist. So let's have a look at behavioural first. So behavioural theory focuses on learning through reinforcement and repetition, and it emphasises those small, manageable steps. So when you're teaching a complex topic, you chunk it down into smaller parts and you reinforce each one before moving on. So a simple way to sum it up is that learning happens through rewards, repetition, and feedback. It's all about those observable changes in behaviour. And behavioural strategies are great for foundational knowledge, so getting students to master the basics before they dive in deeper. Next up is the cognitive approach, which focuses on how students learn information. This theory is about understanding how the mind works, so you're organising and storing and you're retrieving knowledge. So a helpful way to use cognitive learning in your sessions is to get students to activate their prior knowledge by asking them what they already know about a particular topic. And this helps them to link new information to existing frameworks that they have and draws on active recall. If you're interested, I'll put a link in the description below for a video that I've done for my physio students on how they can use active recall to be studying. But it's those same principles. You're drawing on that pre-existing knowledge that you have. Now, similarly, this can work really well at the end of a session. So doing a brief reflective piece where you say, okay, what's new knowledge? What's new things you have acquired from this learning today? And then getting the students to document that somehow. So the cognitive approach is ideal for teaching deeper understanding and critical thinking because it's more than just knowing, it's also about applying and connecting concepts. The next one to talk through is the constructivist approach. So this theory says that students learn best by actively constructing their own understanding. So it's very hands-on and student-centred. So I appreciate they are all quite abstract theories at the moment. So let's have a look at some concrete examples from a few different disciplines to see the differences between them. And so I'm going to use this example around hand washing. So a behavioural approach, that technique would be that reinforcement through practice and feedback. So for example, you could set up a simulation where students practice correct hand washing techniques. And after each attempt, you provide feedback on whether they've met the required steps. So duration, coverage of all areas, etc. And then you can check with that UV light if you've been using UV gel. That would be a behavioural way to teach it. But then if you were going for a more cognitive approach, so that technique would be around engaging prior knowledge and focusing on the mental processes. So an example for that could be to begin by discussing the science of infection control and asking students what they already know about the role of hand hygiene in preventing disease. Then you could use a diagram to look at the transmission of pathogens and explain how proper hand washing interrupts that chain of infection, encouraging the students to reflect on their understanding by summarising the steps in their own words. Then you could look at taking a constructivist approach. And so that technique is active, student-centred learning. So an example could be you organise a group activity where students analyse a case study of a healthcare-associated infection outbreak, and then you task them with identifying how lapses in hand hygiene contributed to that spread. You could have them work together to propose strategies to improve compliance, including designing an educational campaign for staff and patients. So that's an example of taking one concept around hand washing and then teaching it using a behavioural, cognitive, and a constructivist approach. For me, personally, once I understood these different learning theories, it meant I could adapt my content depending on what the aims of that session was, like what am I trying to achieve and which learning theory is best suited to be approaching that. So it really, really helped me. I think it's foundational knowledge for new lecturers to be understanding. So here we've spoken about 3 different learning theories. My favourite is Constructivist. I love that as a way for getting students to be constructing their own learning. So if you want to know more about how you can do that effectively, then please check out my video on constructive alignment, because I do this in all of my modules and I think it makes it way more effective. So I hope to see you in another video. Thanks for watching.